I love that this keynote is not going to be competing with anybody else because Ralph Burns is in the house. And Ralph, if you don't know Ralph actually, I don't even know, there's so many things this guy does, but how many people listen to Perpetual Traffic podcast? Yeah, so it just hit 5 million downloads, by the way, and Ralph Burns is one of the hosts. Built that thing up and has become an unbelievable sought-after expert, one that we literally lean on all the time at Digital Marketer. And when Digital Marketer, who's supposed to be teaching this stuff, leans on this guy to talk to us about our traffic and his agency and how we should be educating our agencies within our certified partner program, you know that he's incredible, right? So I also love that his title today is three strategies to help build a multi-million-dollar virtual marketing agency. And I also love it because it's 3 steps, because I'm pretty dumb and I just need 3 things. I just want it to be simple. So if you're like me, those 3 things are great and you're going to get those today and it's going to be super clear. So being that we need to get this energy up a little bit and we're going to do this the last session, let's get a really huge warm welcome for Ralph Burns.
Hey, pal. How we doing? You're still here. That's awesome. Thanks for the intro, Marcus. That was great. Yeah, we're going to be talking agency here today. And very fortunate to have been able to do this. 3 steps. Yes, we did simplify it down to 3. There's a few more in actuality, but these are the 3 biggies. Okay, so if you've got an agency, if you've got a consultancy, started the way that we did, there is a way to get to multi-millions in revenue, and I'm going to give you those 3 steps here today. So if you don't already know who I am, I'm the CEO and founder of Tier 11. We're a full-service, direct response Facebook and Instagram ad agency. You've probably seen some of our ads clogging up your newsfeed. Right here, these are some of our customers. We do a lot of e-commerce. We do a lot of digital products, do a lot of info, do a lot of services. And we're also a Facebook marketing partner. All our media buyers are Facebook Blueprint certified. Definitely have your media buyers go through it. It's a really hard test. I barely passed. It was really hard. So definitely check that out. And then you guys might know me from this little thing right here, Perpetual Traffic. And yes, it did hit 5 million downloads, which is amazing to me because I do it from my basement, talk to 5 million people. So enough about me. That's my indoctrination sequence. Why virtual? So why a virtual agency? Well, for me, it all started back with this thing right here. Who has read this book? All right, this is a digital marketing crowd for sure. Does anybody work 4 hours? No. Tim Ferriss doesn't even work 4 hours. But anyway, my wife gave this book to me on my 9th wedding anniversary, and it changed the way that I thought about whatever it was I was going to do in my next step. So at that point in time, I was working a corporate job, making a lot of money, like doing well. Like I was running a team of like hundreds of salespeople. It was great. But I hated my job. I hated my bosses. I hated working for assholes. I was miserable. So she's like, you've got to read this book. So I read it, and it transformed everything in my life and helped pave the way for what we're going to be talking about here. By the way, I gave her, for my 9th wedding anniversary, an Ethernet cable. So I actually just found it the other day. It was hysterical. But anyway, so I think I got the better end of that deal. She's an awesome woman. So this is what happened to me. I was fired not once, but twice. All right. Who's been fired here? All right, great. Love you guys. I was fired, and because I had started doing what Tim Ferriss told me to do, which was start a blog, learn WordPress, all these things I have no idea how to do anymore. Start using it, search engine optimization, start optimizing your pages. Create a product about something that you know about. So sales management was what I knew. I created that product. Unfortunately, no one wanted it. Nobody bought it, but I learned a lot of things when I was completely failing on that business, but I had no choice because my wife said, well, now it's a great opportunity for us to go on an RV trip cross country now that you're fired. Because I always wanted to do this for 2 years. So that is me with my 2 kids. We homeschooled them. I bought this big-ass 5th wheel RV. I've never gone camping in my life. Bought a Duramax diesel 250 Silverado, yeah. And drove that across country, not once, but twice. We took 2 years, and I started to do this virtual digital marketing thing. As first as an affiliate, and then eventually started doing it for individual customers. So for shits and giggles, check out fulltimefamilyrv.com. It doesn't rank in Google because I was doing SEO, such black hat Google crap. It doesn't even, I don't think it's even indexed by Google anymore. So fulltimervfamily.com. My kids were my first content producers. Basically all the content that's on the site are written by my kids with affiliate links, of course. All are broken at this point. So that was the start of things. That was about 2010, 2011. 2012, I started making money doing this. I was doing affiliate stuff. Somebody hired me for $100 a month, my first agency customer. $100 a month. I was thrilled. But it started to really grow. I did well for that customer, and now today, 2020, we're projected at 6 million, and I think that's a conservative estimate. So that's all agency. Thank you. Appreciate that, guys. It was a long road. That's a 4,000% growth in 8 years. So in that time, I pivoted from SEO and black hat and all that crap, Google pay-per-click, affiliate marketing. Great way to learn how to run paid traffic, by the way, as an affiliate. Reformed affiliate, I started getting real live customers, and we had that kind of growth. We now are fortunate to be able to acquire customers, not only through the podcast, but through a variety of other methods, and they pay a little bit more than $100 per month at this point. So here are the 3 steps. And so far, am I going too fast for you guys? Is this a good pace? Guys are in New York, so you talk fast like I do in Boston. I'll leave my Boston accent on the side. Step 1 of the 3 steps. Surprise, surprise. If you're building an agency, you actually have to get people to do the things that you used to do. So attracting A players is the number one thing that we do inside Tier 11 as a virtual agency, as a virtual marketing agency. So I think what people do when they first start a business is they just want to find people that are just like them. Okay? And I think that's one of the problems with scale. It's like nobody can do what I do. Like, I'm the genius, right? I can't find anybody that's better than me. Well, I would disagree. Like, I was pretty good at Facebook ads, but now we've actually got people that are even better than me, one of which is here, like a data analyst, analytical, Ben, somewhere in the audience. These people are freaking smart. If you can attract A players, the real question to should I just find people that are just like me is don't do it. Find people that are better than you. And most importantly, find people that are complementary to you. That doesn't mean they just compliment you and kiss ass to the boss, compliment, but do the things that you're not really that great at. So I'm good at a lot of things, but I'm not great at any one of them. Maybe like ad copywriting and some kind of things like that, about hook ideation. Obviously important to have that as an agency CEO. But I found people that are complementary to my skills, like operations, development. I don't know how to place pixels on like a Google Tag Manager. I suppose I could figure out how to do it. I have developers. I have people that know what to do that are complementary to my skills so I can run the company. This is how we started. That was me, agency CEO. I was like, yeah, I'm a CEO. I had one employee. And it was a virtual assistant, by the way. Still with me to this day, believe it or not. But now we're a little bit bigger. So this is our 2020 organizational chart, and we've got it functionally set up between finance, operations, and biz dev. We've also sort of laid out our plan for 2021, as long as we can continue to acquire customers at a rate. This is 2021. As you can see, we're starting to expand. And then we just came to this org chart here, which is going to be 2023 and beyond. So our goal by 2023 is 25 million in sales, which I think is well within reach based upon our trajectory right now. So how do you acquire all these people? And what do you look for specifically? Now, keep in mind, I'm talking to you guys about virtual company. Virtual company means they don't show up every day to your office. You don't see them. Like 90% of the time, 95% of the time, they're not working with you, they're not on calls. So you have to attract, and this is one of the things that I came from my sales world. In the sales world, we all had remote salespeople, worked from home. So this was an easy transition for me. relatively speaking. But what I found is that the same sort of characteristics that I looked for as a character diamond for sales, a lot of those still apply here in the recruitment efforts that we do for our employees at Tier 11. So number one is emotional intelligence. This is a talent that can't be taught. It's like common sense, how you interact with people. Emotional IQ. Look it up. You could talk like for 45 minutes just on this topic itself. Emotional intelligence is the first thing that we look for in our character diamond. The next thing we look for, and probably almost as important, if not more important, is humility. How many people run Facebook ads right now by a show of hands? Okay. It's a humbling experience, isn't it? Because it's constantly changing. The freaking thing, like the interface keeps changing. All kinds of stuff keeps changing. The algorithm keeps changing. The 3-line ad copy thing that hit last week. Oh my God. If you think you have all the answers, this platform will humble you in a second. So we're looking for humility. We're looking for people that are willing and able to change, but also don't always have the right answers, but want to. That's why we look for this. We look for hungry. So a lot of this is tied into grit as well. Great book on grit. Hunger is Angela Duckworth's book by the name of Grit, oddly enough. Great characteristic for you to have. Hungry means like I am striving for perfection. I am striving constantly to get better. Whether that is I want to have a developmental role as a manager, or I want to become the best ad buyer I can possibly be in the world, or the best employee, or treat my customers as best as I possibly can, know everything I possibly can about Facebook ads. Like that hunger is something that we specifically look for in our candidates because remote, you aren't seeing them every day, guys. All right? They don't come and see you. You can't walk down the hallway and check in on their progress. So we need self-starters and people with a lot of initiative. Marketing IQ, this is something that we look for a tremendous amount still, even in our dev people, even in our creative people. They have to understand marketing. We actually take people through. I'll show you the process that we use to sort of screen this out specifically and how we actually recruit. So that's the character diamond for the majority of our employees to attract A players. Now, the process itself, I'm going to take you through. It's actually an 8-step process, believe it or not, for a media buyer. So media buyers, we have media buyers, creative team people, we have dev people, we have biz dev, we have obviously the finance side. We're going to go through the media buying team here because I'm sure you guys are probably, a lot of you are hiring media buyers for your individual agencies. So first off is the online application. Then we do an account walkthrough. This is a video, okay? Third step is what we refer to as the SIM. I'll get to that in just a second. Interview 1, usually with our VP of Ops. Interview 2, that's with the managing manager, the person that they actually do report to. And then 3, they get to talk to me. So I still talk to every employee. We're still relatively small. I actually read that Sergey Brin, former CEO of Google, used to interview every candidate, even up to 1,000 employees. I don't know if I'm going to go that far, but the idea is like you want to put a stamp on people and give them the bigger vision of the company, show them the org chart, show them the pathway, and that's really my role because we have a pretty good process that leads up to step 6. Step 7 is you get hired. You're now an ads manager, and then you go through to the next step is media buyer. I'm going to take you guys through all these individual steps. This takes about 1 to 3 months, believe it or not. So sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes we hire ads managers, and I'll show you what that is in a second, and they stay as an ads manager for maybe 6 months and then eventually become media buyers. So the process to find these types of players is lengthy, but it's worth it, in my opinion. And it's worked well for us, worked well for me in the sales world as well. So this is a board that we use inside Trello, and this is kind of how we go through. This is actually our sales funnel of individual candidates. And then the big thing with this is how we organize that whole process through the 8 steps is we do a lot of show me, don't tell me. This is a show me, don't tell me world, especially when it comes to hiring. Resumes are great. I hired 100 of salespeople. Everybody looks great on a resume. But show me what you can do. And that's the key, I think, to attracting A players, at least for us, especially when you're talking about a digital agency that is virtual. So this is our online application. This is the quiz. And I see Ben over here. He probably is breaking out in PTSD, having actually gone through this. This is the quiz that we send people through from our online listing. We also recruit through the podcast. It's kind of a nice way to be able to say, hey, we're hiring. So you go through this whole thing, and then you submit your resume. A lot of people don't have resumes now, which is okay. Then you get graded. So this is all automated. It goes back into Trello, and then we have a grade for those individual people, pass or fail. On this one, this guy passed. So, and there's some of the answers there. 80 or above, you actually pass, and you move to the next step. So we haven't talked to anybody yet. This is all automated. Nobody's touched them. Nobody's talked to them. All they've done is apply through the online site that we send to them, and we also direct traffic to. So now they're then directed for another email for an account walkthrough. So an account walkthrough is a screen flow video, screencast video, where, especially for a media buyer, we have to kind of know that you know your way around Facebook Ads Manager, right? So another video, this is a 5-minute, or actually this is the first video. It's 5 minutes or less. If you do 6 minutes, you're automatically out, just as a key. 5 minutes and 4 seconds. We once let a guy in. He's actually with us to this day. He was just a little bit of a long talker. He's turned into a great media buyer. If they complete that, then we take them to the next step. This is the simulator. So here's actually a guy. Hopefully he's not in the audience here. But we have 5 different scenarios of typical Tier 11 customers. How would you troubleshoot this account? All right, your CTR is low, your cost per click is high, your conversion rate, what's your website purchase conversion value, all these sorts of things. They go through this, 5 minutes, again. And then we grade this. This is now done through human interaction. We actually have somebody on staff that reviews both of these videos. The best ones are then sent to the next level, which is interview 1. It's not exactly an interrogation like that. That's with our VP of Ops. And then it gets even worse. Same thing. It's a different guy this time. Interview 2 with the hiring manager. And then finally, me, interview 3. I couldn't find an image that made me look sort of more intimidating. Anyway, I kind of like that guy there. So interview 3. So that's it. So you make it through all that. Congratulations. You're hired. Kinda, sorta. You're still interviewing, believe it or not. So once again, virtual is different than physical. Like I don't care how many hours my people work or when they work. I do actually care how many hours they work. If they're working too much, then they burn out. But the point is, it doesn't matter when you work as long as you get the work done. So they are pretty much in auditioning. They're still training for those first couple of months. So as an ads manager, we take them through a number of real-world scenarios where they have internal and external training. Once again, these are things that we'll do for DMHQ. We'll take them through all the digital marketer courses. We've got a number of courses online that talk about Facebook advertising and direct marketing in general. And then there's our internal SOPs, our internal processes that are a part of this. We create a board for individual ads managers, have them go through it on a timed basis. We usually monitor it. The ones that finish this the fastest tend to be the best employees, believe it or not. We say, yeah, you can do this over 2 weeks. We've had one woman did this in 2 days. She was with us for 5 years. So external training, and then we do this. We do strategic account plans here. This is what we do as a precursor. It's like a really high-priced tripwire offer for agency customers, where we will do a retrospective analysis 90 days out. Ben actually just did one of these. It was completely awesome. I think this might have been hit. No, actually, he did another one. And we do the retrospective 90 days back, and then we say, this is what you're going to do at Tier 11 once you actually come on board with us, the next 90 days. The account manager, the ads manager rather, does that for us with the oversight of our director of media buying. So they're on-the-job training. They're learning how to analyze. They're learning how we do things inside Tier 11, and we're charging for this prior to a customer. We charge anywhere between $1,000 to $2,500, then we would deduct it out of their first month's fee with us. The next thing we do is we have a number of accounts that aren't quite full service agency. They're not quite at the highest level quite yet, but these are people that I've known for years. I say, hey, we'll charge you a very reduced fee, but I won't have a media buyer on your account. I won't have our creative team on your account. I'm going to have an ads manager in training managing your account. And they're like, that's cool. I just don't want to do it myself. It's much more like charge next to nothing for this, but we look at it as a way in which to train the media buyers, the soon-to-be media buyer, on how we do things inside Tier 11. It's like taking the SATs, guys. I mean, I think your hiring process, especially on virtual, it's got to be a little more stringent than it does in the real world. Like when I really talk about that, I guess virtual is the real world. But it was 2 interviews, and that was pretty much it when I used to hire folks in physical locations. This is a little bit more involved, but it makes a lot of sense because the end result is once they go through that, they then become a media buyer. Now you're playing with real money and real accounts. We take that very, very seriously. Our customers entrust us to grow their business faster than they could on their own using Facebook and Instagram ads. Our average customer spends 6 figures plus a month on Facebook. We manage about $100 million a year in our customers' ad spend. That's a ton of money. So why do we make this process so rigorous? Not ruthless, but rigorous. Because we take that part so seriously. It's all about results for customers. And this process has worked extremely well for us. And I'm proud to say that our media buying team and our creative team, everyone is an A player. Everyone. And it's because of this. So far, so good? Good? Okay, cool. Awesome. Impromptu applause. You guys are great. All right, step 2. Use simple tools and softwares. Obviously, you got to use something. You can't use this. So, holy crap. When I was first, like back in 2012, me and my VA and like my media buyer, like everything was on email. Can you imagine managing customers on email? I can't even imagine it to this day. So this is a picture of me when I had more hair, but anyway, that was me back then. We've since switched to a quartet, so to speak, of softwares. A lot of what you guys know. Probably a lot of you are using these anyway. So I've mentioned a few so far. At the top of it, and notice that they all kind of interplay with each other because they all talk to each other. That's great. My VP of Ops is a brilliant former software engineer. He's figured out all this stuff. Once again, hiring people better than you, I couldn't have figured all this stuff out, but he did. So Slack we use, go through each one. We use Trello, it's the one over on the right-hand side, Tetra, and then Zoom. And I'll show you how we use each one to manage everything day-to-day inside Tier 11. So first off, the reason why we do these 4, and we've tested a lot, we're actually now testing another one as a potential replacement for Trello, is because it's flexible, it's customizable, each one, it's task-driven, they communicate with each other as well, and the point is it's easy to use. They're all relatively easy to use, okay? Because if your people don't use them, like that's the big thing that when I've transitioned from 1 to 30 people, and now to 100 in the next couple of years, people have to use the tools. So if they're not using them, I mean, you're screwed because it's just, your business just won't run. It's just this big disorganized mess of things, and we can't have that. So anyway, so you gotta make it easy for them to use, and whenever we shift softwares, like right now, for the one that I'll show next, whenever we shift softwares, we have everyone on the team get buy-in. Which seems like a lot of, like, instead of, like, yeah, Ralph says we're going to use this now. Like, no, we need everybody to get the buy-in, feedback, and then we make the switch. So with Slack, it was really, for me, I actually resisted this. I was like, I hate Slack. My VP of Ops said, you're going to love it if you use it right. I was not using it right. I was a disorganized mess. The app is tremendous. How many of you guys use Slack? Yeah, there's a lot. It's a great tool. For us, it's like, I see a lot of teams that are on site as opposed to virtual using Slack, which is great, but might actually replace actual human contact sometimes. Like you should go down the hallway and talk to John as opposed to slacking him. I know you guys are all guilty of that. I have seen that. Awesome mobile app. We also love it because as an agency, we need a place to house our customers as well. So we've got 2 channels. We've got the Tier 11 channel, and then we have we have this channel, which is our customer channel. So each one of our customers gets an account, and then the media buyers and the customer success managers and everybody that goes along with it goes over to those channels, keeps it separate. They can't see what we're doing. We talk about them inside our channel, and we don't, say nasty things about. No, we don't say any nasty things. But anyway, so we keep it separate. It's a great tool for it. I'm sure you guys have probably used it. We love it because there's all kinds of cool stuff that you can do. The fun channel, we've got a lot of collaboration, like what's the latest issue right now with account management. It's a great way for teams to collaborate. I think it's a tremendous tool. It gets really unwieldy if you label stuff incorrectly. My VP of Ops is very diligent about labeling it all right, so we do stay organized. But we found that this has been tremendous, and you can see that I've got some notifications that I have not responded to as of yet this morning. The other thing that we find in virtual agency especially is emojis. Emojis, of all things, are so freaking important. So when I write something on email, and you guys have all seen this, it's like could be like 2 or 3 ways that you could take that written communication. Emojis, like if you add it in, I use emojis. I can't tell you how many emojis. These are, I guess, my favorite emojis because it showed that up. There's dancing pig, I think, on there. There's tier 11. There's all kinds of other stuff going on. We use this to respond to people. We use the eyes to say, I saw that, okay? I know if I put out a message and I see like 13 eyes on the message, nobody responded, but they all saw it. I think emojis are really important for communication, but also for understanding the subtle points in communication that are typically relayed by nonverbal or by facial contact. So when you're running virtual, you got to be really careful about this. I highly encourage the use of emojis. It's really been tremendous for us, and we have a lot of fun with them as well. So the next tool that we use here, which we may or may not use a year from now, but the point is that Trello has been a tremendous tool for us from a project management perspective. So we use it a number of different ways. We have boards for our individual customers. We have boards for creative tasks. So this is how my media buying team and my creative team interact with each other through a creative team board. You can actually sort of see these are all customers, all the blackouts there. These are all customer creative requests like from yesterday. We're dealing with a lot of stuff here, but this is the way in which we aggregate and bring together we bring together creative, we bring together media buying, we bring together customer success all in these boards and organize it really, really well. We also use this for content mapping. So for individual customers, we might have, and I totally stole this from Ryan Dice, but so he showed this at War Room one time, all the levels of awareness, the 5 levels of awareness. If you guys are familiar with that book, Breakthrough Advertising, show of hands. Yeah, it's like $400 on Amazon, but it's worth it. The point is levels of awareness from completely unaware all the way to your solution aware or your product aware. All the way through to that, it relates really well with levels of ads and depths of engagement for our individual customers. So we might have unaware audiences, problem-aware audiences. We're going to write different ad copy, and we're going to have different creatives based upon where they are in the customer journey, all the way down to level 4, which is where they probably add things to cart, aren't quite ready to take the next step. We have creatives for that. So this is where the team talks and collaborates on individual customer accounts. We also use it for training. Matt's training right there, which he completed. He wasn't the guy who completed it in 2 days, by the way. But anyway, he's a great guy. We love him as an ads manager so far. Agency team meetings. We organize our team meetings in here. Everything's in there. Like all I have to do is I show up for an agency team meeting, like, all right, news and announcements. What do I have to say? Like they fill it in for me. I go in, do my thing, and off I go. For other meetings, this is our leadership team. We've got different boards here for to-dos. It's a great way to organize not only meetings, but customers as well. Trello, tremendous. It does have its drawbacks, but I think it's the best one. Plus, it integrates with Slack, which is tremendous. So the third one is Tetra. This is one that not a lot of people, you guys know what Tetra is? Anybody heard of it? Like one show of hands? Yeah, okay. So we find this, we'll see this in step 3 here, is that we use this to organize a lot of our individual internal documents, SOPs, as well as Like our creative team is like, what's the username and password for iStock photo? Well, it's in there. It's all in there. Everything is well organized, and it's done really, really well. You can organize it like a library here. This is the creative sort of folder and all the individual SOPs and instruction manuals that we keep in here. It's a tremendous resource. It updates in real time, talks back to Slack as well. When somebody updates, the creative team SOP, boom, notification goes into Slack. So it really is very, very helpful. We did start on a different platform, which I'll get to in just a second, and migrated to this one, but this was a really, really good one. So this is where we've got marketing education resources like campaign QC checklists, like all this kind of stuff, like that's constantly changing. Tetra, you can update it in real time, and you can collaborate with people as well. Just another one here, we have our SOPs in here. And then lastly, we've got some internal documents that we use with Tetra. Really, really important. It's a great place to store files, and it's a great place to access files, especially as it integrates with the other softwares that we use. So that's the third one. I would say probably the most important one. Who uses this one? Yeah, this has become incredibly popular, and it's because it's good, right? I mean, the app is like really good on your phone. I mean, it was really buggy for a while, but they've figured this shit out. Absolutely. We used to use GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar. Don't like it anymore. Hugely important because of this. We don't have many rules at Tier 11, but we do have this rule. You got to turn your camera on. And that's not Ben right there, by the way. That is not Tier 11. No, I don't know who those people are. We had a team call on Tuesday. I totally forgot to take a screenshot. But anyway, camera on at all times unless you're driving or unless you have a bad signal. It's vital. So we use every media buyer, every employee has a Zoom account. They're all under a master Zoom account. Do all our customer meetings with them. I do all discovery calls for the business development side of the equation, as well as our internal calls. Super important. They don't see each other every day. It gets lonely working all by yourself at home. So Zoom calls, quick Zoom call. Hey, I just want to talk to you about something. Boom, here's the link, throw it in Slack. Boom, get on a call, 10 minutes, done. Much easier than going back and forth on Slack or on email or whatever it is. So tremendously effective. Step 3, sort of talked about this a little bit. You got to create systems. I mean, it's havoc when you first start. So this was something that I realized when I spoke to somebody who you probably all know. He's actually here in this building. He told me at a mastermind, he's like, Ralph, that's great. Your business is impossible to scale. I was like, challenge taken. He said, because of what I know about Facebook and Instagram ads, I could never create a company around what I know. And I think a lot of you guys have a lot of really individual skills and intelligence, experience. You don't think you can actually scale it because it's like, I'll never teach that to somebody else. I challenge you to think differently. You can. If we can scale a virtual ad agency running Facebook and Instagram, which changes like every other day, you can do it in your business as well. So this book right here, which I highly recommend, probably a lot of you have seen it as well. I should probably get my Amazon affiliate links in these. I can make some money off this. But anyway, the Checklist Manifesto by Atul Gawande. He is he's a doctor, actually. He worked in Boston. And what he did is this book is tremendous because I started to think, this changed my thinking on how I could scale up this virtual agency thing. And Atul, he borrowed the principles from the airline industry. So the airline industry, due to traffic safety and safety of the airline industry, they have checklists for everything, like a pre-flight checklist, a pre-boarding checklist, a landing checklist. You see your flight attendants going through it with you, the same stuff we hear every time we get on a flight. That's a checklist. It creates some unanimity. It creates consistency. That's how you can scale an agency using the same types of principles. He actually used this in his field to really revolutionize, and this is amazing, revolutionize and reduce the amount of infections and post-op complications due to surgery using a checklist. Like they didn't have part of the checklist that said, pull sponge out of patient before closing suture. That's in there. Really important. Count up your sponges as part of the checklist. So I read this, I'm like, well, if he can do that in surgery, and then he also gave another example of how these big buildings, just looking out the building, like how do they build these buildings? Like it's incredible, like freaking 100 stories tall, you got all this stuff going on. They do it by checklists. Checklists. I'm like, somebody can build a skyscraper. I think I can build a virtual agency. So anyway, we did that, and because of that, it gave us a lot of things that we didn't previously have. First off, it was control, all right? Secondly, consistency. Okay, we got to be consistent all the way across the board, and gave us some precision, but also, and here's the 50-cent word, duplicability, which basically means that you can do it over and over and over again. The best part of these SOPs, and I'll show you this in a second, is that I created the first ones, but they look nothing like they did when I first started. They're better because we have people inside the agency that actually update them on a consistent basis because they want to. Going back to A players. Their A players do that kind of stuff for you and make their job in your company that much more successful. So the question I always get is like, all right, well, I have all this stuff inside my head. Maybe you're an agency that builds websites, or maybe you do SEO, or maybe you do what we do, Facebook and Instagram ads. Where do you start? Well, it's really hard because you just have to start. That's really what you have to do. You have to start writing stuff down. I mean, the journey of 1,000 miles actually does begin with the first step. As cliche as that sounds, it is actually true. So what I did is I just did it this way. It's like, man, I'm creating a campaign. I just wrote down everything I did as I created it. I actually had my phone. I dictated it. That's how I created the first SOP, the first campaign build SOP, which we still have to this day. That's how I started it. And I did everything on every task and wrote it down, and then I revised and I edited it, and then just repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And that was how we started. The first SOPs, I gotta say, they sucked. They were horrible. But there was something there. The question then came up, where do I put all this stuff? I can't just keep this in my phone, because this is really important. You want it to be a dynamic document, right? You want it to be constantly updated. Well, we started with Drive, which is a good place to start. And then we went to Trello. And then, as I said before, then we went to Tetra. When I first did these, I would do them in Word documents. Actually, I don't even show that here. Word documents, and then I would make them into PDFs. And they're like, oh, well, the Facebook interface changed yet again. It's like, now I've got to change the PDF. And so I was like, that doesn't make any sense. So starting it on Drive is a great place to start. All the SOPs that we have right now actually did start as those individual SOPs inside Drive, and each one of them have checklists at the top of them. That's the best part. Checklist of what to do, and then each step in an SOP after that. It's the only way to scale. It's the only way to grow an agency that's virtual. The best part is there's a couple things you can do to actually lessen your load and make them better than you made them originally. So first off, get your top people to write them for you. So after I wrote the first iterations, which weren't good, but they were something, I had one of our original media buyers, Vladdy, still with us to this day, he started writing them. And tremendous, because they were actually way better than mine. He put in screenshots and stuff. Like, he really did a good job, and he enjoyed it. I couldn't believe it. Like, I hated doing it. He's like, this is great. I love doing this. Be surprised what you do when you actually ask people to do things, and they find that they actually start enjoying them and getting some measure of success. Tremendous for us, because it was the foundation for the entire agency. Obviously, use a sharing doc. Don't start with PDFs. Doesn't make sense. Unless your industry is so static it never changes, chances are you're here because a lot of stuff is changing, and you want to stay current with that. So I would recommend use a sharing doc. Like I said, Tetra is the one that we use right now. And then if you need to, assign and get volunteers to update. So right now we have volunteers. People just do this on their own. So like our associate director of media buying is updating our SOPs all the time because she's like, well, if I update this, my job is going to be easier because when I teach the media buyers how to do this, at least it's going to be in there. And I won't have a question. So I train the people to say, hey, every time you update an SOP, that's probably 10 questions you're going to avoid later on. Seriously, it is. So that's how they started to do it. I didn't assign anybody, but they all do it on their own, and they're better than they ever have been. And we're continuing to grow them through Tetra. So as a review, this is the 3-step process. Now, you'll see in this 3-step process, there's no mention of like sales and marketing. We have a podcast that helps with business, for sure. We also run a lot of ads. So, and I know Ollie Bilson was up here. Buy his stuff, because his funnels are really, really good for agency sales. So that is what we use. We use the phone funnel framework with Ollie. So shameless plug for him. He is going to buy me dinner when I go to London on Friday, so that's good. Expensive bottle of wine. Point is that its stuff is really, really good. We know how to run Facebook ads, so why wouldn't we? I mean, come on. Referrals is, I'll tell you that is where most of our business comes from. And that's because we've got these 3 steps outlined. We've got great players. We've got people who know what they're doing. And we create really good results for our customers because they hire us to grow their business faster than they could on their own. That's what we do. We just use Facebook and Instagram to do it. That's all. So track day players, use simple softwares and tools, and create systems. I believe you guys are going to get these slides. But yeah, if you guys have questions, Ralph at Tier 11, feel free to email me. Love to talk to you. And that's it.